Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session on the power of WhatsApp in driving financial inclusion in rural India. I'm Pooja Haldia, Senior Advisor at the Center for Social and Behaviour Change at Ashoka University, and I'm very excited to share this work with you. Joining me today is one of my colleagues, Vartika Shukla. Before we begin, here's a quick introduction about the Center for Social and Behaviour Change. We are an independent center at Ashoka University, driving impactful behavioral change interventions for people and communities in need. We advance both the science and the practice of behavior change, working across sectors in nutrition, sanitation, maternal health, family planning, and financial inclusion. And we execute our vision through a mix of behavior change programs on the ground, foundational research, and capability building.
On to the project, our goal was to improve postal agent motivation and the volume of transaction at the India Post Payment Bank, or IPPB. For context, IPPB was set up under the Department of Post, Ministry of Communication, in response to the new model of payment banks proposed by the Central Bank, the Reserve Bank of India, in November 2014. It was designed to leverage the Department of Post's field network to offer payment bank services to the rural population, using doorstep assisted banking and regular counter services through postal agents or Grameen Dak Sevaks. Banking agents deliver financial services to their customers. IPPB wanted to increase the number of transactions facilitated by these postal agents. During the initial research, postal agents' motivation emerged as a key barrier. While their motivation was linked to multiple levers, better communication of incentive was identified as a significant lever. The existing incentive-related communication is not centralized and instead happens via circle offices. This results in non-standardized communication with banking agents. So this project aimed to improve banking agents' motivation through behaviorally informed interventions focused on improved communication and dissemination of incentive schemes.
So coming to how did CSBC approach this problem? At CSBC, we have a 4-step process that we use. Step 1 is discover, where we do a deep diagnosis to understand what are the behavioral barriers and facilitators and which is basically helping or not helping a behavior from happening. In step 2, we then look at these barriers, look at these facilitators and design behaviorally informed interventions. Going into step 3, we undertake rigorous lab and field experiments to understand whether these interventions work or not. And then lastly, we actively disseminate findings and we figure out ways in which we can scale and institutionalize the interventions that work. At IPPB, we initially started with the discover phase, and here we spoke to everyone from the postal agents themselves to bank managers, circle heads, central office, and even to some consumers. And in addition, we also spoke to those circles and those branches that were performing very well, where agent level motivation was high, where transactions were high. And we used all these learnings to design a package of interventions.
So our intervention package consisted of 4 parts. Intervention started with forming a WhatsApp group of the postal agents at branch level. Through this group, we shared all the interventions. Our first intervention was simple, short knowledge bites. We shared knowledge bites on product features and incentives in the form of messages, flyers, and short videos with postal agents on the WhatsApp group. Postal agents' incentives are conditional to a certain number of transaction and balance requirements by the customer. These conditions make it difficult for agents to understand their eligibility. This particular intervention of knowledge bites addressed the barrier of conditional incentives and made it easy for them to understand the product and incentive details. Our second intervention was live feedback using WhatsApp. On the group, postal agents shared their targets and run rate of focus schemes, which is MIS at branch level. The group also gave feedback and social recognition to the banking agents who did well. This intervention made IPPB work social for the agents. Our third intervention was an incentive calculator, which is a simple web page on which agents can enter their anticipated number of transactions. The page then calculates the approximate amount of incentives the agents would earn for conducting those transactions. We sent a link to this incentive calculator on the WhatsApp group. Earlier, agents found it difficult to link the accrued incentives to specific transactions and were not able to track how much incentive they have accrued. An instantaneous incentive performance tracking system like the incentive calculator made it easy for agents to track their incentives. Our fourth intervention was personal calling. It involved branch manager calling 2 to 3 agents daily to explain focus schemes, troubleshoot using standardized talking points. This also helped them maintain a relationship with the postal agents and improve trust amongst the agents.
Now, coming on to the pilot, we conducted the pilot in Bihar and Delhi. We picked these locations because India Post Payments Bank wanted to understand the contrast between urban and rural contexts. Delhi, being a largely urban location with a significant migrant population, has a very different customer profile than Bihar, which is more rural. In each of these locations, we had 2 control branches, and there were 2 branches where we tested the interventions. So those were the test branches. The interventions were conducted over a 3-week period, working very closely with the branch managers. We worked with them in creating the WhatsApp group and then maintaining the interaction through this WhatsApp group. Finally, we measured the impact of the interventions by looking at changes in the incentives earned by these postal agents in control branches versus the test branches.
So here is what we found. The pilot showed great results, especially in Bihar circle and rural or semi-rural branches in Delhi. In majority of the schemes, we found that there was a significant increase in number of transactions during the pilot. We observed a significant jump in the number of transactions of over 500% in Lakhisarai branch, which is in Bihar. The Delhi circle had a mixed performance, with semi-rural branches showing significant increase in number of transactions, while the more urban branches didn't show that much increase in number of transactions. We observed that our interventions improved engagement and awareness more in rural and semi-rural areas compared to urban areas. Hence, the intervention worked better in the rural and semi-urban areas.
So broadly, this is what we think we learned and what worked. Creating WhatsApp groups of peers is a very impactful intervention in itself. It encourages a sense of community as well as a sense of competition amongst banking agents. Also, as they're also using this WhatsApp even for personal conversations, sometimes just to problem shoot and so on and so forth, the learning and adoption time of new schemes, new products is reduced significantly. Now, within this WhatsApp group, we found that simplifying and standardizing messages around incentives resulted in much better understanding and engagement amongst the banking agents. And so what we realized is that how the communication of incentive structures happen can be as important as the incentive structure itself. And so the design of this communication has to be very carefully done. Lastly, of course, providing daily feedback on performance helped in increasing motivation. It provided real-time feedback to each of the postal agents on how they were doing. So what's next for us? So we hope to scale these interventions, and we are working with IPPB to scale these interventions to other branches, including working with IPPB to put in place processes and structures so that they can run these interventions on their own. Further, we've also been excited to see application of WhatsApp-based interventions in other sectors. Recently, the center did some work on complementary feeding with young mothers, where we want to encourage young mothers to give more nutritious food to babies. And the formation of a WhatsApp group of mothers brought way more visibility to the importance and practices around complementary feeding and encouraged better dietary practices. For us, the pilot is a proof of how creating groups, even digital groups, can have a very positive impact on motivation. It's a very simple and scalable intervention that can be done across many domains and helps leverage the impact that peer effects have in a very cost-effective way and allows for an inclusive growth. Thank you very much. And for more information on the work that we've done, you can find our contact details here.